on the west or on the east side, it's not.
It's not here.
I think it's coming.
Okay. I see that on the radar, but just not here yet.
It just started raining here and I'm on the west side of town.
Okay. Probably another half hour then.
All right, we're live, guys.
Yay! I know, that's pretty exciting, isn't it? We should always say yay when we're live. People would like that. All right, so let's call the July 21st Public Health and Human Services Board meeting to order. And as always with our meetings in this wonderful pandemic time, we will start with we have determined that an in-person meeting or a meeting conducted under section 13D.02 is not practical or prudent because of the COVID-19 health pandemic and the related state and local declarations of emergency declared under Chapter 12. The technology we're using allows that all members of the body participating in this meeting, wherever their physical location, can hear one another and can hear all discussion and testimony. It also allows that members of the public present at the regular meeting location of the body can hear all discussion and testimony and all votes of the members of the body. Commissioner DeShaw and Interim Administrator Rena Rogers are physically present in the regular meeting location, and all votes are being conducted by roll call, so each member can vote on an issue, can be identified and recorded. All right, legal stuff all done. That was really fun. I'm really glad I don't have to do that forever, I hope. And we have checked that everyone is here. Hi, Lori, you're here too. Myron and Dave is here. Perfect. And Ginny's on the phone. Andrea and Roger, Allison. All right. So the first item we have is approval of the consent agenda. And we need a motion as a whole unless anyone would like to pull anything from that list. I'm seeing head shakes of no. So who would like to make a motion? Oh. So I'm going to do Myron as the first and Roger as the second. And then we will do a roll call vote. You can say A or nay, Bobby.
Wait, say it again. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I saw the A-OK hands up, but yeah, we should get a vocal recording.
You gotta let me unmute.
Andrea?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Myron?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Ginny?
Aye.
And I am an aye, so that passes with everyone. So now we move on to the staff report. Is Matt?
I don't see that Matthew is connected yet. I'd be happy to get us started with my report while we wait for him to join, if that's okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So for staff and agency updates from the Public Health and Human Services Department this month, we are in the process of developing our budget for 2021. Lori and myself have met with each of the individual unit supervisors to review assumptions for both costs and revenue. We are working under the assumption of no levy increase over 2020, so working to hold that as closely as possible, and we'll be bringing our draft budget to the auditor's office later this week to include in the overall general budget, and then we'll be presenting a summary to the Public Health and Human Services Board at our August meeting. Grace Grenager and I are serving on a task force to provide recommendations to the county board for allocating CARES funds, both for our public health response efforts as well as support for individuals and families impacted by the pandemic. Some of the areas that we are looking at specifically in human services are increasing our emergency funding to individuals who are experiencing a housing crisis, either eviction, homelessness, or utility shutoff, and then other basic needs supports. We are also looking at granting funds out to community agencies that support our mission in public health and human services. In the area of our public health response, we are increasing capacity for our local response to case investigation and contact tracing, and looking at funding some unreimbursable expenses for our community support line as well. Just yesterday, Grace and I met with our Public Health and Human Services Advisory Council subcommittee to review the year-end reports from 2019 for our Public Health Fund grants. We also reviewed the request for proposals and application forms for 2021 funding. That announcement will go out in the next week with our virtual info session. Will be held on August 3rd, and then the application deadline is August 21st. So more information to come very soon on that. I have been working with our unit supervisors within the Public Health and Human Services Department to conduct some long-term planning for client and staff safety as it relates to our ability to serve the public. Recently, we've been doing a lot of our visits outdoors, but know that this is a short-lived temporary solution to being able to meet with people face-to-face in a safe manner. So we are looking both at places where we could potentially modify our meeting space within the courthouse to be able to see people safely. And then also looking at some of our shared spaces within the office where we have staff who are in shared spaces. Right now, again, the majority of our staff are working from home, splitting shifts. But again, looking at some more long-term solutions to be able to have staff working safely, both in the office or with additional equipment that they might need to do their jobs from home. Again, we're looking at using some of the county CARES dollars for these modifications. I'll be meeting with Rena and Brian tomorrow to review some of these proposals. Under items for board action, we are requesting renewal of the temporary out of class appointment of Sarah Hadley to treatment coordinator. This is a new position that was included in our 2020 department budget. Sarah has been serving in a temporary capacity in this role as we look at how to fill this position permanently going forward. Sarah has indicated that she's willing to continue on in this position as we continue to evaluate the best way to provide the service and balance this with other current and anticipated needs in the Children and Family Services unit. The treatment coordination as it stands is not a full-time position, so we're looking at how to pair that with, again, other needs that we're seeing or that we anticipate within that unit. So again, Sarah is willing to continue on for up to another 6 months while we develop a position description, post and recruit for that position. An update from our income maintenance unit. That team is anticipating an increase in workload in the coming months. As it stands, the supplemental unemployment insurance benefits are slated to end at the end of this month. So that will be a big impact on individuals who are accessing that additional $600 in weekly benefits. So again, anticipating an uptick in applications for service. Those staff are still following program modifications and waivers that were authorized by the state. We are in a waiting period right now to see how some of those will be continued and operationalized as they're depending on the program under varying authority, both at the state level and at the federal level for our medical assistance programs. We've been working to promote additional EBT benefits available to families with children. This is the pandemic EBT benefits. The deadline to apply for those is the 31st, so the end of this month. Lastly, the income maintenance team recently received a certificate of recognition for compliance with a recent program audit that was conducted for healthcare. So just want to again recognize that team for their continued improvement efforts with applications. Lastly, on a statewide level, I wanted to share an update on the Blue Ribbon Commission. You might remember that this commission was formed as a result of the 2019 legislative session, a multidisciplinary commission that was tasked with looking at recommendations for cost savings and program improvement in the human services sector. A draft report was just recently released, recognizing that some of their engagement efforts and the goals that they were originally tasked with were challenged by the pandemic, but they are looking for feedback. LPHA, the Local Public Health Association, AMC, and MAXA, the State Social Services Administrators, are in the process of reviewing and prioritizing some of the recommendations that were set forth by that commission. Also really working to see this as an opportunity for program transformation, especially as we look at the increasingly widening disparities in health equity in the state of Minnesota. So those are all of my updates, and I don't see that Matthew has yet joined us.
So what we'll do, since you covered a lot, is do a roll call for anyone that has questions before we move into board action. So we'll start with Roger.
No questions.
Okay, Myron,
No questions. Thanks for the report.
Andrea,
No questions, thanks.
and I see Rena let Bobby live. So Bobby.
The only question I have is if we have any unemployment numbers from the county.
I don't have that readily available. I'd be happy to look it up and follow up with you directly.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Ginny, any questions?
Thank you. No.
All right. So the first item is the service agreement for consulting with Matt Webb. Can I get a motion to approve that?
This is Andrea, I'll motion.
In a second.
Second, Storley.
Thank you, Jenny. And we will go through a roll call, and we will start with Bobby.
Aye.
Andrea,
Aye.
Roger,
Aye.
Myron,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Ginny,
Aye.
and I am also an aye. That one passes. The next one is the extension of SUD treatment coordinator out of class. Can I get a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Roger.
Second.
Thank you, Dave. Again, we'll do a roll call. Bobby?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Andrea?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Myron?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Ginny?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. That passes unanimously. And we still don't see Matt on. So let's move into committee reports. Allison, have you sent Matt a message to see if he's with a client?
Sarah's following up with him.
Okay, thank you. So committee reports, Arrowhead Economic Opportunity, Dave Mills.
I think the only thing to report is just their food distribution that's been getting advertised fairly well, I think, on social media. The timing maybe isn't the best as it's just after Ruby's Pantry. And so I know a lot of people have a difficult time either storing or consuming everything given from Ruby's Pantry. And so that's a little bit added challenge, but I think that's the only update I have. There was just executive directors review sent out, just to give feedback on how we as a board feel that Scott is doing in his role. And as far as I can tell in the reports I've gotten, he's doing quite well. And there has been some changes kind of in the upper level management there as well, but I think everything's going really smoothly.
Wouldn't that be amazing if everyone in Cook County had bellies that were too full and pantries that were bursting at the seams? That should be a big goal for us. That would be fun. All right, moving on to Arrowhead Health Alliance Joint Powers. Again, Dave.
Nothing to report.
Okay. And Bobby, you are not muted, so could you do Arrowhead Regional Corrections?
Arrowhead Regional Corrections, our shares cost is going down $7,800 this year. And then the meat processing program seems to be moving forward. So.
Are there any numbers of COVID at that facility?
I don't believe there is.
Okay, thank you. Ginny, Arrowhead Regional Development.
We did meet, however, most of the meeting was budgeting and working with the CARES money. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Community Health Board, Dave.
Nothing to report there either.
Roger, you are up for Public Health and Human Services.
Yes, we did meet this month, and Allison covered a lot of what we talked about. One thing we had a very good discussion on, I thought, was around the face coverings and social distancing, and how we should go with it, what we should recommend, and what we would like to see happen. And it was a good discussion, and I think everybody was heard, and we had differing opinions. But what came out of that was what I think is a very good statement from the council as a whole. It was in last week's paper, and you've seen it around probably in other venues in the county. But Jerry Lilja wrote it, and I think he brought the consensus very well he put it very well onto paper and captured exactly what we were trying to say. And while it's probably not what everybody agrees with entirely, I think it's what everybody agreed with, at least mostly. So, and we'll be looking at that statement a little later in the meeting. So that's all I'll say on that. But again, that was, I think, our main discussion.
Okay, thank you. Yep. And I did see that. I don't normally get the paper, but I did see that. So thank you. And the next one, Andrea, you're up.
Hi, I have a whole list of updates. So we met on July 15th. We received an update from Sawtooth Mountain Clinic that the pharmacy is still on track for their January opening. Carly Puck brought up that higher ed is offering multiple classes on anti-racism for our community. Let's see. We talked about the struggles of the chemical dependency support programs in Cook County and how technology, excuse me, and internet access were some of the larger barriers. We briefly discussed an article that was posted on Boreal titled "The Rural Mental Health Program Has Broad Scope." And in response to the conversation, I reached out to Rich Tunnell, who is the program administrator for that. And that program is fully funded right now by the Miller Dwan Foundation, and it's open to rural workers, specifically in industries like farming, mining, forestry, wildfire fighters, etc., to try to reach a section of the population that has been historically underserved in the mental health services. And he has the ability to meet people via Zoom, over the phone, or even in person, all over northeastern Minnesota. So that seems like something our committee could help promote. Let's see, our August meeting, we're going to focus on mental health in schools, and hopefully we will be inviting the ISD guidance counselor and social worker to talk about how we could assist the schools during the transition, whatever that transition might look like. And then in September, we're going to focus on creating a mission and vision statement for the council.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah.
Matthew, do you have time to hang with us? We are already down to H on our agenda for updates. And so if we just finish out the last three, we can round up the meeting with you.
Sounds perfect.
Okay, great.
Thanks for being flexible.
No problem. Thank you. Ginny, Healthcare Planning Committee.
We did not meet.
Okay. North Shore Collaborative, Dave.
Whoops. Yep, have not met. Nothing to report there.
All right. Emergency Preparedness, Myron.
Yes, we met the 14th, and Rena, you may want to add something after I'm finished. We had about 18 people there representing various aspects of our Emergency Preparedness Committee. Several of us were there from the county. We talked obviously about the mask recommendation going to the governor, and that seemed to be a focus of the county messages in regards to how do we do outreach with this. What is some of the messaging that we can do from our various departments, from health supervisor to public health and human services. And Allison, I believe you talked about, you know, the educational outreach on dealing with the mask ordinance, if it is implemented at the state level as well as if it's not. And so that was a good discussion. We had our sheriff give a report about some of the activity going on, and a lot of that is just sort of the business as usual with all the tourists in the community. There was one issue with having serving meals in parking areas, and I think they're checking up on some ordinances on that. I believe that's it, unless Rena, I know you were there. You have anything to add, or Allison, please, or Grace, please go and offer your thoughts as well.
No, I think you covered it, Myron.
Okay.
I'd just add that the committee that was formed under the EOC to look at messaging and promotion of mask use is meeting later this afternoon, our initial meeting.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, in our correspondence is the resolution for face coverings, if you all want to take a look at that. So we will save for the good of the order until after Matt. And Matt, you are up.
Well, thanks. And Andrea, if you want to chime in with any of this, I completely welcome your additions. Andrea's been contributing really. So the update is about the community support line. And as Andrea's been assisting us with managing logistics, with scheduling, with our group of volunteers. I would say that the most important update thus far for the community support line is that we really have had a strong outreach push in regards to social media, getting posts and videos out, and those resources have been widely consumed as far as people viewing and being reached by them. In addition to some of the earlier efforts of Ruby's Pantry, getting flyers out to the public. And our volunteers are really consistent and committed to making sure the line is staffed. Andrea's doing a lot of work just to make sure we're always scheduled a couple of weeks out with that group. The interesting thing to note is that there has been really low levels of traffic to the community support line. So thus far, it seems like for whatever reason, the resource has not been very widely utilized at all. And so kind of, I think where we're sitting at with that is trying to determine why that may be and how moving forward as waiting for the public to decide that that is a necessary resource to utilize, how we can be prepared for that and see if that point comes sometime soon. So that's sort of the short of it. And Andrea, if you have anything to add, feel free, or if anybody else wants to chime in with questions, or Allison, go right ahead.
I'll just add that we right now have a total of 12 volunteers that cover the shifts every day from 4 to 10. So typically the shifts are pretty easy to fill. Grace Bouchard has filled in a couple, but it sounds like maybe we're trying to come up with some backup plans for if a shift is not able to be covered by a volunteer.
Right, and I've covered a few as well, Andrea. What's interesting is that the line, if for anybody who's not clear, the community support line is forwarded to our human services intake during the day from the hours of 8 to 4. And it's my understanding that we are getting calls from the public during that window of time. It's difficult for us to track when those calls are forwarded to PHHS versus being when they're picked up in the after hours. We can see really clearly which volunteers are getting phone calls. So it seems like mainly the calls that we are getting to the community support line are coming during the day, and they're going to our intake staff, versus after hours between 4 and 10 is really low to non-existent volume at the moment. Yeah, what's up, Dave?
Thank you. Can you speak at all to the types of calls that PHHS is getting during the day?
I don't have a lot of specifics, but what I do know, because I'm not on that intake, but what I do know is it's everything from resources to information. And from what Heidi has told me, there are folks that are just not sure what to do in general with their concerns regards to employment, or their concerns for safety around employment are the main ones that I've heard. And we are working on a push with Jim Boyd to get some specific resources to employers to give to their employees. But he's made some requests from us in order to make that happen that we're still working on completing. But I think those are the ones that I've heard about. And we've gotten a few out-of-towners actually that have called in wondering if Grand Marais is truly as hostile as it appears on social media.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah, it's a little funny.
Anyone else have questions for Matt? I'm seeing head shakes. Matt, prior to COVID, besides the suicide hotline numbers, people could call the law enforcement center. Do you know if law enforcement is transferring those calls over?
So far they're not. And when I checked in with Pat Eliason, he did share with me that they are getting a higher call volume for mental health related calls. And so it's uncertain to me why we're not, if that is indeed the case, why those folks aren't being sent to us. We have provided them with the resources to do so. But there's appears to be some sort of gap there. So if anybody has any ideas on how to make that more successful, that could be a really huge help to both their staff and ours.
Yeah, and just for your knowledge, because I have been in a situation with a person that I know we had to call law enforcement, the dispatch number, just to reassure you and let you know, those dispatchers are amazing. And they have done really well with someone in crisis and walked through it and had, you know, I had a situation where a deputy needed to come out and take somebody in. So really great service that we're doing. And, you know, after COVID's done, another thing we might want to do is have a little session at the Emergency Services Conference, because depending on the situation and how the person reacts, we may want to talk to them about recognizing what is a mental health crisis for our responders.
Fantastic idea.
And then kind of, Myron, I see your hand up, go ahead.
Sure, just a question. When these mental health cases come to the attention of law enforcement, do you have some kind of protocol or guidelines of how law enforcement could reach out to you or someone in the department? Is there any kind of process or procedure so that there's some kind of, I wouldn't call it coordinated, but support to each other, especially so that everyone understands, you know, this is what type of situation it is, here's what you can do, and refer it on to support. Is there anything in place with that?
I know there is. Allison, can you speak to that?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, so we have a call out procedure in place with law enforcement where we share the contact information for our staff. Certainly during business hours, we would hope that they would contact our agency to coordinate an effort. But if it's something that's happening after hours, when our offices aren't open in PHHS, we have a process in place, and again are sharing contact information. Typically it's our social services supervisors who are called out to respond, but that may fall to a caseworker or individual, especially if they're actively working with that individual or family. But that's the process for coordinating response with law enforcement.
Does that answer your question, Myron?
Yes, I think so. I'm sort of getting at maybe a preliminary level to that in regards to maybe not as an assign, but I'm just curious about that. There's something that we can do. Maybe there isn't, but it seems to me that we'd want to make sure that the services you're providing are readily available. And if things aren't happening, but you know, on your end with people coming to you, but then law enforcement is seeing there's a need, how can we bring that together to service our people in need?
I can speak to another effort. Within the last couple years, we've formed a multidisciplinary team for behavioral health crisis response that's facilitated by Grace Bouchard out of our office. And it includes representatives from law enforcement, the hospital, Violence Prevention Center, the clinic's behavioral health staff, our case management staff, Grand Portage Human Services, and then a representative from our regional mobile crisis response team as well. And that's been an initiative to bring all of the people together that may be involved in supporting someone in crisis, ensuring that everyone is on the same page in terms of processes, how to access services. I think with the community support line in particular, our goal is to promote use of this resource before someone is in crisis.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's helpful.
Anyone? Thanks, Myron. Anyone else have questions? So we'll kind of segue into, for the good of the order, since Matt did say the call Heidi has, we'll just give you a little, I think, positive. So I had to go to a meeting in Duluth, and on the way back, I stopped at a business, not in Cook County, but you know, a small business, to try to help out as much as I can. And sometimes I forget that the back of my car has the suicide hotline on it. And the owner walked in and said, "Oh, did you stop today to stop me from committing suicide?" And obviously I thought that was a very strange comment, but it was made. So I spent some time in this business. There weren't any customers, and I probably spent an hour in the business listening to the owner and their concerns and frustrations. And the person is a high risk person. and they have some medical stuff, and then their frustration with the rules for COVID, where some businesses are essential and some are not essential. And then it dawned on me the number on my car. And so I put out on Facebook, and this is why I'm not sharing the business owner. I put on Facebook without the business owner about the struggle and about how we all need to remember to be kind and stop and support local businesses. And I had some private messages of outreach, and there are people in the community who are helping this business owner out. So you all make a difference. Remember that. And remember, it's just the little things. And so that's part of the good of the order. Does anyone else have for the good of the order this morning? All right, dead silence. One more for the good of the order, since we're talking about tourists coming to visit and whether or not we have a bad attitude up here. Many of you probably have seen and heard the frustration with extra garbage. And it's kind of difficult because many things are shut down. And so the normal camping areas and things are not together. And so you all know I'm the secretary of the Tread Lightly Off-Road group. And we have teamed up with the Forest Service, and many of our members will be out in the next weekend or two cleaning up. We've got a list of 10 areas that the Forest Service is unable to keep up with. So our group will keep up with that, and we will be cleaning areas. And we already had a member out who picked up, if any of you are old enough to remember the TVs from the 80s that are as big as your living room, one of those was picked up out of a gravel pit, and some other things and tires that we need to go back and get. So there are some positive things happening, and we're all working together and trying to keep our community good. And just, you know, it's not always tourists, so let's not divide and put blame on certain people. We all make mistakes, and as someone who is in the gravel pits quite often relieving stress, I will tell you, when it's not tourist season, it is disgusting in there. And I often ask for help to clean them, and I often threaten to use my position to shut them all down. So I will tell you, they are often a mess. And so let's all just try to work together. The other thing that the Tread Lightly group is doing is that people are getting themselves into areas they shouldn't be in vehicles that are not meant to go in those areas. And we just had a situation, I will tell you, of a Toyota Prius that went somewhere that even us off-roaders might not go, and the tow companies could not reach it. So our members went out and got this person out. So everyone, use your noggins, use some common sense. If the boulder's bigger than your car, don't drive over it, and be kind to each other. And if you see garbage, safely pull off the road and pick it up. Does anyone else have anything? Allison?
If I may, yes.
Yes.
I would just like to express my gratitude to Matthew and to Grace Bouchard and to Andrea for everything that you've done to establish this resource. I would like to thank all of the community volunteers who are dedicating their time and expertise and experience. There's so much value in the time being spent to have this resource available if and when people are ready and willing to access it. So I just want to express my gratitude to everyone involved in that initiative. I think it's something that we're all really proud of and really excited to have that service available. So thank you to all of you and to all of the volunteers involved in our EOC response, even beyond the community support line, all of the grocery store volunteers, everyone who is giving of their time to support our public health response. It's seen and it's appreciated, and we thank you all.
And a big thank you to you, Allison, as the director of the department, to make all of these things possible and to bring your staff together and forward plan for this. So thank you too. So the next meeting is Committee of the Whole at 10, and on the agenda, it doesn't let the public know how to get in. Myron, you want to do a reminder of how we conduct Committee of the Whole?
I believe it's on Zoom, and it should be, Rena maybe have, but I believe it's under the calendar.
It would just be live streamed the same way as any other meeting. So if folks go to the county website, it's on the live stream and they'll be able to see it. Rather than be in the Zoom will show up as the live stream so people can watch it and hear it.
Oh,
Does that meeting start right after this?
It starts at 10.
At 10. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And it's a Zoom meeting, Rena?
It's a Zoom meeting, but it's like this one, it's tied right into the live stream. So rather than allowing the public to log into Zoom, they can just observe it on the live stream.
Okay, because there was some confusion about how that worked. And so I had told them to go onto the live stream, and this meeting has the Zoom connection listed and the committee of the whole one does not. So just a reminder if anyone's tuned in now. So we will adjourn the Public Health and Human Service meeting. And again, for any public that are listening in, the committee of the whole will start at 10 a.m. And I will see most of your faces. And Andrea, thank you for sharing your lovely little boy with us. That's wonderful. Have a good morning, everybody. Thank you, Sarah, for running this. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.
bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.